Bergen ko'chalarda umid uzma aziz xalqim, umid uzma ey ana yurt. Biz atlandık bu kurashga, o yıl taştak uyuşup. Allah berse bu nusretni, bizgilerimiz sep bulup, zalimlarni yığlatgudek, Oğuz gibi küçlük bulup, lepildeydi asminanda, göz çaknetip şu günü, ay yıldızlık gök bayrağım. Ey ana makam, ay yıldızlık gök bayrağım.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear brothers and sisters, welcome to a special episode of Talkies Turkestan. Today I have joining with me Mr. Abduweli Ayup. Mr. Abduweli Ayup is a writer and linguist, specializing in Uyghur language education. Abduweli Ayup was born in 73 near Kashgar in the Uyghur region. Upon graduating from Minzu University, where he completed his bachelor studies in Turkic literature in 1997, he got his master degree from Xinjiang University in 2001. He was a professor in Northwest Minzu University and Xinjiang Financial Economic University for 9 years. He went to study at the University of Kansas in Lawrence, where he holds his master degree. I guess I'll have you guys read the rest of his bio, which is in our description, while we get to the topic at hand. So before I get into the interview, there seems to be a bit of a lag, but I think you guys can still hear my voice. I will have Mr. Abduweli Ayup to the show. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm very good. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm very well, and thank you for having me today.
Yeah, so brothers and sisters, in the description there are two articles, two bits of research done by the Uyghur Human Rights Project as well as the BBC, and Mr. Abduweli Ayup was involved in that, basically talking about the religious situation, the incarceration of imams and the killing of imams in the Uyghur region. So that's why I've got Brother Abduweli Ayup on the show today. So I'm going to start off with my question. Let's just get started straight away. Since communist rule in the Uyghur region, there have been mosques, people have been allowed to pray and, generally speaking, practice Islam with some restrictions. And those restrictions used to be that people within certain age groups couldn't practice, or that women weren't allowed in mosques, and government workers not practicing. But now there is a blanket ban on the religion of Islam. Could you speak to the history of Uyghurs and Islam in the region since communist rule, and why the current crackdown on Muslims, imams, and the demolition of mosques?
First of all, Uyghur believe in Islam, and until this 1949, like 1950s, and Uyghur continue the similar tradition, and Islam played a pivotal role in Uyghur society. For example, that any Uyghur from birth to die, like keep Islam as the main core idea and my core value of their lives. And like when Uyghur born, we have a name on it, and it's with the Islamic way. And then we were like boys, 7 years old. We have the ceremony, and after like wedding, and the third the die. All of the Uyghur life from the delivery to the death, and all of the like connected with the Islam together. And the Uyghur and the Islam is like joined very perfectly, and it's impossible to like evacuate Islam from Uyghur, and it's also impossible to evacuate Uyghur from like Islam. So it's connected, just like a bone and flesh. And after like 1949, after Chinese rule, the first of all, Chinese government canceled the Uyghur Sharia law, and the Uyghur inherited this Sharia law, but it's not the same as like in Saudi Arabia and in like other like Middle East. It's a Uyghurized way, and for example, that like killing infidel or something like that, it's haven't been in our culture, and we have never that like be infidel or like some different sexual oriented people or like against the women. No, it's very typical Central Asian and typical Uyghurized Islam, very moderate. For example, that we have a 12 mukam, and like it's started 1,000 years ago, and it continuously exists until now. Like it's really unique in Islamic world. For example, that we have like we have a tradition that every Eid Fitr and Eid Qurban, and we have a dance in front of the mosque, and the people play drum and flute on the top of the mosque. It is really unique in Islamic world, and it means that like Uyghur Islam is connected with the music, connected with the dance, and connected with the solidarity and the tolerance. And but the Chinese government after like 1950s, the first targeted the Uyghur tradition. For example, that like Uyghur Islamic clerics targeted, for example, 1957, the first Uyghur Islamic clerics targeted and sentenced. It's the first time like Uyghur Islamic elites targeted, and the second is like during the Cultural Revolution. During the Cultural Revolution, like Uyghur mosque demolished and the Uyghur Quran burned, and the Uyghur forced to like feed pigs. For example, that my father Ayup, and he was at the time the high school teacher, and during the Cultural Revolution, he stayed, like he sent to labor camp, and he fed pigs there. Like in it's a very traditional Uyghur village we call Opal, and there's a pig farm. And my father, well, like former high school teacher, became a pig feeder in the like pig farm in Opal. So it's the second time like Uyghur culture being targeted, and I think that this time it's after like 2014 Uyghur tradition targeted. It's the third time, but it's not the first time. But before, like if we compare 1957 and 1966, and if we compare former two times, it was targeted specific group of people. For example, that Islamic elites, Uyghur clerics, and Uyghur intellectuals, and Uyghur like entrepreneurs. But this 2014, it targeted entire Uyghur community. It's different. Like before, Chinese government incarcerated some group of people and some group of elites. But after this 2014, Uyghur ethnicity became the Chinese national enemy. So this time is like completely different, and this time is for Chinese government, it's a final solution, like eradicate Uyghur. Before those effort is just ask Uyghur to be how can I say that, trustworthy Chinese citizen. But this time the goal is eradicate this ethnicity, this culture, this community.
As I mentioned before, there was a report published by the UHRP and the BBC, and everyone can find those links in the description below, talking about the incarceration and killing of Uyghur Imams. in which you were a part of. Could you explain your role in the research conducted? And also, could you please share some of the stories of some of these imams who are currently incarcerated or have been killed by the Chinese regime?
Yes, I started this in 2018. It's because of our respectful religious leader, Mehmet Salih Damullam. He translated the Quran, and after 1950s, it's the first time someone translated Quran. And second, Ablet Mahsum, another respectful Uyghur religious leader, and both of them died in 2018. And it shocked me, and I thought that it's important to like advocate about them. And because like most of our religious scholars are old-aged senior citizens, and they are like, because I have stayed in the detention center before, and for like I know that like especially those old-aged Uyghurs are very soft, like very vulnerable in detention center. Like young Uyghurs can bear with some treatment, some torture, but for like old Uyghurs, it's really hard. Like in that condition, if you are old, it means death. So for me, like two of our respectful religious leaders died, and I thought that it's important to take some real action, some like a concrete action to save them. And first of all, I collected their names depending on the regions, like from Ürümchi, and like we started from Kumul, the east, and until the Kashgar, the west. And we enlisted at that time, the first time we enlisted about 300 religious scholars. And then we keep working on it. And then I recommended this topic to UHRP. And then like Peter, Irving, and we worked together. And I in charge of the collecting information and like collecting the story. And like Peter in charge of the writing and like organizing those contents. And because of this, I personally studied their cases and talked to their family members and some of the like religious leaders mentioned in the report. I have met them when I was in a Uyghur hometown, and like for example, I can share one scholar, Abduweli Ayup. He is more than 90 years old, and he is from Artuch, our business hub and cultural hub in west part of Uyghur region. And I met him several times, and in Ürümchi and in Kashgar and in Artuch. And before I leave China, I went to him, just want to have his opinion and what, like, because for me it's not easy to make this decision. Like I stayed in detention center, and I have tried to save Uyghur language, and I still wanted to try. I still wanted to stay in Uyghur and stay with Uyghur and like preserve the culture and keep preserve our base. But the problem is there's the like restriction, and like I cannot even rent apartment in Kashgar, and I cannot stay in Chinese provinces. I have lived before because of I'm Uyghur. I cannot stay in Kashgar because of I'm not a resident in Kashgar. My residency is like in the Chinese provinces. I have worked before, and like I have very I stuck in Kashgar. Like I cannot do anything. So I just very like frustrating, and I tried to find a solution. And so I went to Abduweli Damullam, and I asked his opinion, like because he's our older leaders. He experienced like 1957 mass arrest and 1966 mass arrest and both of the time he survived, and he had a lot of experience about what Chinese government strategy or something like that. And I asked that Abdin Damullam, what's your opinion? He said, son, for me, he said, son, yes, we experienced 1957 and we experienced Cultural Revolution, but remember, this time is totally different.
You know that we have seen recently Uyghur Imams speaking out on Chinese state-run media saying that there is no genocide. What I want to do is I want to play a clip from one of these Imams, and I just want your reaction to this, and we'll sort of stop in the middle as well. So just bear with me here while I quickly share this.
Okay. So you've been an imam in Kashgar for over a decade now. How would you describe the degree of religious freedom in Xinjiang?
Hazır devletimizdeki dini etiqat erkinlik siyaseti umumyüzlük izchillashtirildi. Kişiler öz ixtiyorligi bilan keladi. Kemmisi o'zining ishi, kasimi o'zining ishi. Men islom diniga e'tiqod qilgani 30 yildan oshdi. 30 yil mobaynida men hukumatninki dinni cheklagan yoki dinga besim ishlatgan ahvolni ko'rib boqmadim. Hattoki bizningki normal diniy faoliyatimiz davlatlar tarafidan qo'g'dilyotdi. Undan boshqa masjidlarimiz mablag' silinib, masjidlarimiz remont qilinayotdi. Masjidninki sharoitlarini yaxshilab beryotdi. Hozir masjidlarimizning sharoiti intayin yaxshi. Mana shu partiya hukumatninki diniy xizmatga bo'lgan ko'yinishning ifodasi.
Okay, so that Imam was saying that the Chinese government supports Islam and the renovation of mosques. How do you react to such statements from Uyghur Imams coming out of Chinese state-run television?
First of all, I know him. He is the son of Jume Tahir. His name is Mehmet Jume. And I know from his relatives, at least more than 10 family members got arrested. I know. And this is filmed in Eitka Mosque. And Eitka Mosque is still there. But Eitka Mosque is never empty like that before. Because Eitka Mosque is just hub of Kashgar, the center of Kashgar. People always visit there. The Uyghur, the Eitka is just like Kaaba for Uyghurs. Like all Uyghurs, different part of Uyghur homeland, and they visit the mosque, and it's just like for Uyghurs, Eitka is heart of Uyghur. So it's never empty that like that before. Like you can see from the picture that Eitka is empty. It has never been empty before. This is the first. Second, that like there's a back of the Eitka, there's a street we call Norbeshi, and there are I know several mosques, and depending on the Chinese social media video Douyin, we found that in that street change it to tourist attraction, tourist destination, and those mosques change it into bar. Yeah, change it into a pub. And how can we say that like Chinese government invest or like decorate those mosques? Yes, Chinese government decorated, but decorated into bar, not the mosque anymore.
Okay, I'm going to continue the video because he mentions a few other things.
So there have been claims that the Uyghur ethnic group in Xinjiang suffered from ordeals like cultural genocide. Do you think those atrocities really took place?
Men aklım kelgandan tortib hozirgacha davlatimizda 56 millat Balıkını bilme 56 millet hemimiz beraber kanuni cihatinden, siyasi cihatinden beraber yaşayotimiz. Hiç kanda bir milletninki örf adeti yoki televiziyaga cheklangan ahvol yo'q. Mana men hozir sizga Uyg'urcha so'zlayapman o'zimning tilida. Men davlat tilini o'rganyapman, taxi bilmayman. Mushumo davlatimizning har bir millatninki tiliga hurmat qilganligining natijasi.
So there he talks about the freedom of language, and he talks about how all 56 ethnic groups are equal and none of their customs or languages are suppressed. Could you please speak to this, seeing that you are a Uyghur linguist expert?
Yeah, because I was a professor at Minzu University in Northwest China, and yes, in China there are 56 ethnic groups, but now most of them like lost their language, especially those ethnic groups in southern part of China. And like in China, people can still keep their language alive as like the Uyghur and the Tibetan and the Mongolian and the Yi ethnic group. And yes, if we count, we cannot count more than 10. And like the Manchu ruled China more than 300 years, disappeared. There is no Manchu speaker anymore. Where are they? And like in Inner Mongolia, actually, when Mongolia like have a autonomous status, more than 30% Mongol are living there and using their language. But now 13% of Mongolian still using their language. Others already lost their language already. And like in China, in the northwest part of China, we have other Muslim ethnic groups, but they lost their language and all become Hui Muslim. Who is Hui Muslim? They've lost their original language, speak Chinese, and then they become Hui Muslim. Where are they? They lost their language. More than like, yes, 56 ethnic group, but now most of them already lost their language because of Chinese assimilation. If Chinese government treat a 56 language, 56 ethnic group equally, where are their language? And where are they right now? And another thing that, yes, China, there are 56 ethnic group. But if you visit in southern part of China, you can still see that they are exist. But they are exist as tourist destination. They are exist in like in Yunnan province. There is a park, World Park, if I'm not wrong, and there are 56 ethnic group you can see, but all of them speak the same language, but always they wear the ethnic traditional clothes to attract tourists. And I think the Chinese government want to do in Kashgar that make Kashgar as a tourist destination, make all Uyghurs as a dancer or like ballet dancer or other like guys who attract those tourists. And I think the Imam Mehmet Tahir is one of the like dancer or one of the like actor here.
Great. And the only reason why I'm showing this video, dear brothers and sisters, because this is typically how the sort of points that when they get a Uyghur or when they get a Uyghur Imam to speak on the situation, they'll talk about, is there a genocide? Is the customs or language being attacked? And there'll be one more point, which I'm going to bring up in the video. And this is the last point. And the point will be as follows.
So what's your take on the fact that the religious extremists incite violence in the name of faith?
Dinni asabiy kuchlar din to'nig'i o'rnini bilib, beguna ommaga ziyonkashlik qildi. Ularni yarlandırdı yoki o'ltirdi. bu insoniyatga, madaniyatga qarshi turganlik. Men buningga qarshi turaman.
So what do you expect the future development in this region?
Xinjiang'ningki bundan keyin taraqqiyoti istiqboli parlaq. Qanday desa, Xinjiang'da nurg'unlagan ishsiz kishilar davlatningki yaxshi siyosatning turkisida haqsiz ishga o'rinlashdi. Ularningki turmushga bo'lgan orzusi amalga oshdi. Bundan keyin Xinjiang'ningki taraqqiyotining taxim yaxshi bo'ladiganligiga ishonaman.
Okay. So
So the final point there was he mentions extremism and terrorism. Now, we all know the meanings of these words, but what is the CCP definition of extremism or terrorism?
CCP definition of extremism and terrorism, it means that like if you are Uyghur, speak Uyghur language, and if you are Uyghur Muslim, practice Islam, it means you are extremist. For example, that like my sister Abduweli Ayup and my brother Erkan Ayup sentenced one, like my sister 12 years and my brother 14 years, and the accusation is provocacy against terrorism, like provocate people against terrorism. It's the allegation. But both of them are model Chinese citizen, and they like my brother is government officials and CCP member, and as a leader's position, and my sister is high school geography teacher, and they both accused of terrorism. And in Chinese definition, terrorism, it means they are non-Chinese, they are Uyghur traditional practitioners, and they are Uyghur speakers. That's why those Uyghurs, like more than 3 million Uyghur and Kazakh and other Turkic ethnic groups are incarcerated because of they speak their original language, they practice their original culture.
So, you know, we have these imams there. There is also an organization in the Uyghur region called the Xinjiang Islamic Institute. Sounds very nice, but what is the role of this institute? Do they train imams? Who are they training? What are they training?
Yeah, I forgot to mention one thing, that like Eitka Mosque, former Khatib, like a preacher of Eitka Mosque, Abduqadir Sawat, he got arrested in 2017 and sentenced 15 years. And another young imam of Eitka Mosque, Adil Imam, he sentenced 14 years. And at the time, this Mehmet Juma is not imam. There are former 2 imams got arrested and sentenced. And if like Chinese government respect Islam and respect religious freedom of Uyghur, where are they? And those are like Abduqadir Sawat is vice president of Xinjiang Islamic Association. He is a government official, and where is he? And another one is Adil Imam, also the government officials got salary from the government, and where are they? Yes, we have an Islamic institute in Ürumchi. That's true, but 80% of the teachers already sentenced. Like 90% got arrested and 80% already sentenced. I can now count more than 11 because I have documented their cases, and I personally know some of them. And now we can see that very few Uyghur professors still there, but most of them got arrested. For example, that Shahabuddin Damullah, he got arrested, and Habibullah Tohti, he got arrested. Abduqar Damullah, he got arrested. Yusufchan Damullah, he got arrested. If I count, I can count more than 15. Like most of the teachers got arrested. And it's your organization, it's your institute to train Uyghur imams. If you don't believe those imams you are training, and if you don't believe those like professors who train the imams working for you, and what are you doing? Who are going to trust? And how can we trust you? You don't even trust your own institute. You don't even trust the government officials who are working for you. And how can we trust? How can the world trust Chinese allegation?
So, I mean, that's amazing. So China trains its own imams and then arrests them, which is something crazy. You know, you've worked on this, you know, not just recently, but for a very long time now. What has been the reaction from organizations like the OIC or quote unquote Muslim leaders or the Muslim world in general? Has there been a reaction?
After we worked on this topic, like we got reaction from different religious group, not only Islamic associations and Islamic world. And the goal of this project is not targeted, not the like Islamic world. It's the world of believers. So I feel not disappointed, because I have never thought that this is the like issue of Islamic world. This is the issue of humanity. This is the issue of all of the believers in the world. It doesn't matter you are Muslim, you are Buddhist, you are Christian, you are Jewish. It doesn't matter that. Like, it matters if you are a human being, if you have belief in your heart, if you believe in God. That's the matter. If you are a human being, it's the matter for you. So I didn't feel disappointed, and but I think everything is become a history. And if we believe that our reaction against this genocide against Uyghur and other ethnic groups, and this Islamic association, those Islamic world, and they keep silence and they didn't talk anything, and it means that all of the things are being recorded. And what we will leave the legacy for our next generation. Like, if we leave this legacy to our next generation, who will follow us? Just think about it. For example, let's think about Al-Azhar University. Like, more than 21 Uyghur students from Al-Azhar University deported to China, and Al-Azhar University didn't say anything. PhD student of Al-Azhar University, Habibullah Tokhti, got arrested and sentenced 20 years, and Al-Azhar University keeps silent on it. And how can we see Al-Azhar as Islamic? Who will believe that? Do you believe, do any Muslim believe that this kind of organization, this kind of institute train our Muslim leaders? And are they our leaders? So if you want to call the world, if you want to call Muslim to you, you need to call your heart. Am I Muslim? If you are Muslim, you need to say, you need to stand up against this atrocity, against this genocide. If you keep silence against this genocide, against one Muslim ethnic group disappear in front of you, it means that maybe we are not in the same Islam. Maybe your Islam is different. It's Chinese Islam, or like it's authoritarian Islam or dictatorship Islam, but our Islam is freedom. Our Islam is life. Our Islam is dignity. Our Islam is power, is dignity, is humanity, is love. If your Islam is dictatorship, yes, you can follow CCP, you can follow Xi Jinping instead of God, instead of Islam, instead of Prophet Muhammad.
I'm going to now start. We've had some questions throughout the show people have posted. I'm going to share them with you, Mr. Ayup. We have one question here. Why does you sort of answered this at the beginning of the show, but perhaps you can enlighten us more. Why does the CCP commit genocide? Wouldn't it be more profitable for them to leave the Uyghurs alone? I suppose that it is maybe because Uyghurs wouldn't accept a totalitarian regime. What do you think?
I think eradicate Uyghur and it's not, it's nothing beneficial to Chinese government. Uyghur is actually like from the historical point of view, Uyghur played important role in when China becomes strong, the Uyghur are strong. No, when Uyghur are strong, China becomes strong. When Uyghur become weak, China become weak. For example, that in Tang Dynasty, like Uyghur very strong in Silk Road, and it benefited China. Like Uyghur army saved the Tang emperor twice, and actually Uyghur played important role in the Silk Road. Uyghur just connect east and the west. Like Chinese culture and Chinese society and the Islamic world is different two world, and Uyghur just connect this two world together. And Uyghur during the history, Uyghur played this role, put those cultures together, like put Indian culture, put Chinese culture, and put Islamic culture together. And it means that it benefited by India, it benefited by China, it also benefited by Russia. It means Uyghurs in the history, Uyghur played this role, and in the future, Uyghur still play this role. But if you want to eliminate this, and you need to face Islamic world with your real face, and who can accept your this face? Like you already eliminate one Muslim ethnic group, and who can believe in Islamic world? Who can follow you? And who can accept you as a guest? Who can accept you as an investor? Who can accept you as a so-called helper?
As you mentioned, this is not something just for Muslims or Muslim organizations, Muslim governments. Everybody should be going against China for this genocide. But we have a question here. It says, can you give us some methods to hold Muslim governments accountable? Well, I would say holding any government accountable for trading or supporting China, other than raising awareness on social media. Do you have any advice for us?
I think it's I always avoid this topic, mention the Muslim world or Islamic world.
Yeah.
Uyghur issue is not the Islamic issue, is not Muslim's issue. It's a humanitarian issue. It's a humanities issue. We need to choose between dictatorship and the freedom, and freedom of expression or the authoritarianism, and dignity or money. If you believe in, if you worship money, it's okay. Worship Chinese CCP and follow Chinese CCP's way. And if you follow the dignity and the human nature and the human honor, I think this is the way to support Uyghur and stop this genocide.
We have a very interesting question. I think you sort of covered it, but people don't understand. For example, it says obvious that Imam is a political mouthpiece. Hold on, that's not the question. Why do you think they would train the Imams themselves and arrest them? What's the point of this?
In the 1980s, before we need to mention some historical point of view. During the Cultural Revolution from 1966 to 1976, 10 years, mosque demolished and Uyghur Imams arrested, and Uyghur religious life, we lack of Imams, we lack of religious scholars. And after 1980s, there is an opening up policy, and Chinese government opened the door to the Islamic world and to the world. And in that case, Chinese government give relatively free air to Uyghur society, to Uyghur society, and that's why there is some institute. Not only those institute to Uyghurs. We have in China there is an institute to Buddhist institute to train Buddhist monks, and there is a institute to train Tibetan Buddhism, and there's an institute to train Uyghur Muslim and the Hui Muslim. So it's not only specialized for Uyghur. It's after opening up policy 1980s, and China have those institute to make those religion sinified, nativized, those religion, make those religion nativized. That's why they have those organizations. But after this 2014, Chinese government started the campaign that against any expression of Uyghur, any cultural expression of Uyghur. Like for Islam, for Uyghurs, is way of express their identity, and the Islamic Islamic way of living, and Islamic clothes, and the beard and the headscarf. Those expressions as Uyghurs expression of their like religious freedom, and that's why Chinese government aimed targeted those imams. It's because of it is Uyghurs. It belongs to Uyghur. For example, that if Uyghur believe in Buddhism, if Uyghur believe in Christianity, it's the same, nothing different. It's because of Uyghur believe this Islam, and then Islam become target. Like if Chinese government target Islam, why it's not the concentration camp happened in, we have another Hui Muslim autonomous region like Ningxia. Why we don't have that? And we have very close Gansu province. There is a big Muslim community, Hui Muslim community, and in China that we call it Linxia. That place is like a Chinese Mecca in China. It's very big and it's very free relatively. And that place, that city and mosques are still there, and there's no concentration camp. There's no something else. That's because of Uyghur believe in Islam. Islam is one of the cultural expression of Uyghur. That then it's targeted.
Yeah, we've been saying that it's not, even though we see mosques and imams and all Islam being banned, it's not necessarily a full-on Islamic issue. As Brother Abduweli Ayup mentioned, that there are Muslim regions or Muslim populated regions out there, and they still have their mosques. They can still pray. They can still have a beard. They can still wear their headscarf. They still have imams. They're relatively free. Looking to the future, what's the trend going like? Are things going to get worse for the Uyghurs? Are things getting better? What do you see happening in the near future?
After the study this topic, the trend is, before we just study on the topic and that we collected information that those imams got arrested, but now unfortunately most of them already sentenced. For example, I just mentioned that my friend Habibullah Tukhti, he is a PhD of Al-Azhar University and very energetic and very hardworking and very respectable poet and religious scholars and social worker and public figure. He sentenced 20 years. And before we just think that they arrested and they are in concentration camp, but the problem is now they already sentenced. So from the trend, we can find that most of them, they already sentenced. And I feel very sorry for Abduweli Ayup. He's more than 90 years old. And another religious scholar from Hotan, Karakash, Memtiman Karim, he also more than 90 years old. And from my study on this lists, about 26 something above 80 years old, those imams who already sentenced, and 10 years, at least 6 years, most of them are 10 years. And I wanna see them again, but I don't know how and when. So if we don't take urgent action, we will lose them forever. So I don't know why we keep silence. And I know that Qaradawi is old, and he's more than 80 years old, maybe something. Why he doesn't talk about this topic? In your age, people are suffering. Hey, Qaradawi, people are suffering just like in your age. Why are you keep silence? What are you having? We can give you, Uyghur, we can work, we can die for it, but we can give you all we have. Just speak up. ask the world to stand up to this atrocity. The people you are in your age suffering in detention center, in suffering in Chinese treatment. I don't know. So
Yeah, that message is for any Muslim scholar or imam remaining quiet on this, because I guess this is the difference between a believer and a hypocrite. When you see clear-cut oppression and you're not speaking about it. And I got a question here. You don't need to answer this. The question says, why does Western media deliberately ignore Uyghurs? I'm sorry, 2000 blizzard rain. Western media and the West, non-Muslims are the biggest supporters of the Uyghurs. Zionists are the biggest supporters of Uyghurs. Far right, far left, Nazis, Trump, Biden, left, right, all of these people who are ethnically and religiously not related to Uyghurs are the biggest supporters of Uyghurs. Then we have Erdogan, the king of Muslims, and his brother Imran Khan, the king of Muslims, supporting the Chinese government. It's a crazy world that we live in. Final question for me, this issue with the reaction of the Muslim world to Palestine. How do you find this when compared to the Uyghurs?
First of all, I feel sorry for Palestinian kids and wives and the fathers. As a father, I feel very sad every time I saw them. I cry just as I'm crying for my Uyghur brothers and sisters who are suffering in Chinese detention center. But the problem is, if we compare that Uyghur is going to disappear, the genocide is happening, and I can say that after 30 years, we will not see Uyghur anymore. We will see physically, but culturally, we will not see Uyghur anymore. We will not see Uyghur Muslim anymore. Believe in me. But I believe Palestinian people solved the problem. They have their Hamas, they have their army, and they have their land, the autonomous place, and they have their schools, even they have their university, and they have their big community in Europe, more than 100,000 Palestinians living in Europe. And they can call family members in Palestine, and they can visit whenever they want, and they can unite whenever they want. But the problem is, for Uyghur, we cannot call our home, our family members, our mothers in our hometown. And it means that we are in front of the cliff. So I feel sorry for what's happening in Palestine, but the problem is if I choose, of course, I choose somebody is dying, because the Uyghur is dying and the Palestinian is fighting. I hope I make dua for them. But first of all, I need to save people are drowning on the ocean. That's Uyghur.
I'll answer the next few questions. It says, I understand it's not a Muslim issue, but could you give us a few methods to hold governments around the world accountable? The Muslim governments, I think you were mentioning. So with the Muslim governments, the local populations within whatever country they're living in, they have to pretty much shame the government. You guys are Muslims, you guys are apparently following the Sharia. Why aren't you standing up for this? If they have a means to, because we know that even Muslim countries, they don't have the capacity to even protest within their own countries. So that's one. I don't think Westerners, Muslim Westerners can do anything about what's happening in the Muslim world. And another question here, what about the Chinese people? Do they believe the CCP, or are they too scared? A bit of both. Most of the population themselves are persecuted by the Chinese. If you saw with COVID, people who spoke up against COVID-19, those journalists, those doctors are either 6 feet under or they're in prison. We have to understand that whilst they are not persecuted like the Uyghurs, Chinese people themselves are persecuted to an extent. They don't have any free voice. And should they speak up or do anything, not even just for Uyghurs, simply to speak up for their own rights, they too will end up in jail. Okay, brother, do you have any last words before I close out the show?
Every time I talk to the media, I thought that it's my last word, because every time I talk that like I'm in front of my eyes, I can see those people who are in suffer, who are in torture, who are in like despair. So I hope the audience, I hope our brothers and sisters, I hope the people who are conscious and who are love to take action, speak up, and do something to save innocent thousands, millions of people who are suffering in Chinese concentration camp.
Okay, thank you so much, Brother Abduweli Ayup. Thank you for everyone joining me. I'm going to close out the show. Please do not leave me, because I'm going to say my goodbyes after I close out the show. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. And thank you to everyone. Until next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ümit üzme aziz halqim, ümit üzme ey ana yurt. Biz atlandık bu güreşke, o yıl taştek uyuşup. Allah verse bu nusretni, bizgilerimiz sep bu.